Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this channel, we talk about tech, we learn tech, and we grow in tech. So in today's lab, we are going to be looking at Azure App Service. It is actually a service in Microsoft that build, deploy, and hosts web applications in the cloud without managing a single server. Looking at the three main core services when it comes to cloud computing, we have infrastructure as a service, we have platform as a service, then we have software as a service. And the platform as a service, a good example, we have Azure App Service, where we build our application, be it a web application, be it a mobile application, be it an API, without stressing or without managing the server. Isn't that impressive? So this video is all going to be about web app. So these are the different things we are going to be looking at before we go into the Azure portal. We are going to discuss about the web app itself, the basic of web app. We are going to answer the what is Azure web app, why are we using the Azure App Service, and the key benefits behind it, how it works, and under the hood. Then we are going to look at the pricing tier when using an app service. What are the different service plans based on the application you want to deploy? Then we are going to look at ways to deploy your code. And the last one, we are going to dive into the Azure portal, where we are going to look at a live demo on how to deploy a real application. But first things first, what is a web application? A web application is a program people reach through a browser. It can be a website, right? But interactive. Someone somewhere has to keep that program running 24/7, so it is always reachable. That is a web app. Now, with this web app, you write your code. It can be HTML, it can be Python, it can be Node.js, it can be Java, it can be PHP. Now, when that code is being written, the code actually needs a house. The code actually needs a home, which is actually a computer that runs it around the clock. Now, when the code has been written, when there is a house to hold it, then once it has been created and been published, people visit it. It can be visited from anywhere. Your apps can be from anywhere, anyone, through a web browser, through a web address, a URL, a uniform resource locator. Now, a simple question is this: who provides that always on home for your code? Who provide that always on home for your code? That's exactly what Azure App Service does. The server creation, the virtual machine, it's not the responsibility of the customer. The full responsibility is for the cloud service provider. And in this case, we are talking about Azure, Microsoft. So they have the responsibility to provide the home for us. Now, what is Azure App Service? Azure App Service, it is a fully managed platform from Microsoft Azure for hosting web applications, APIs, and mobile backends. Now, in plain English, you hand Azure your code and it takes care of your server. Looking back to the on-premises way of deploying an application, the first things first is to build a server or create a virtual machine that is going to run the application. So before moving to the side of building an application, at the level of on-prem or the physical traditional side of IT, you first of all need to build the environment. You first of all need to build a home, which is building the server. But when it comes to the cloud, Microsoft has provided the Azure App Service, which your responsibility is just bring your code and we have an environment for you to use. And in that environment, they are going to take charge of the security, they're going to take charge of the scaling. You just focus on building your application. As I mentioned, Azure Apps Service falls under the platform as a service. So why should you, or why do companies and organizations use app service? The first thing, which is very important, there is no server management. Azure handles the operating system, it handles the patching and the hardware for you. Then the second is the auto scaling. It automatically handles more visitors during busy times. When it comes to scaling, we have two types of scaling. We have the vertical scaling and we have the horizontal scaling. Now, when we talk of horizontal scaling or vertical scaling, we have the adjustment of the CPU, the adjustment of the RAM, which is the memory, the adjustment of the disks. Now, when it comes to horizontal scaling, it's basically the adjustment of the virtual machine, either an increase of the virtual machine or a decrease of a virtual machine. Then now we have this auto scaling that it's part of the app service. So your application will either scale up or scale down, scale in or scale out based on what is being deployed. Then the third reason why app service is being used is at the level of built-in security. There is free SSL certificate and sign-in features that are being included that can be used to secure your application. Then we have a fast deployment where your code can be pushed from GitHub or it can be pushed from Visual Studio Code in less than a minute. Then thinking or worrying yourself, as many engineers today are being faced with, like, I don't know how to write a code, I'm still learning how to write a code, I don't know the different coding languages that are available. But Azure App Service has made this easier for engineers by providing many languages that can be used to deploy an application. We have the .NET, we have the Java, we have the Node.js, we have Python, PHP, and we have containers that can be used to containerize our application. And the last one is the 99.99% uptime service level agreement, which is actually a document that binds the customer and the cloud service provider on the availability, on the reliability, what is going to be provided when you use this service. That is why Azure App Service is very important. How it works, it is very simple. Your code, right? The app you want to build, then there is an app service plan. App service plan simply means the compute power behind it. Inside the app service plan, you have the number of CPU, you have the memory, you have the disks, all those things that have been put in the house for you to build your application. Now, once you have that, you can go ahead and you build your web app, your app, which is going to run live. Once it start running live, users can reach out of anywhere, anytime, with any browser and access your application, right? So we are going to go into the portal right now and create an Azure App Service. Create an Azure App Service. Then we are going to create an app using the Visual Studio 2026. Then I am going to send a zip file of a Bible app that we are going to use for this demo. And we are going to see how to use Visual Studio 2026 and publish our code or our app to Azure App Service. And then by the end of this video, we are going to test it and we are going to see how sweet, powerful, and nice we can make use of the app service. So looking at my screen, this is the Azure portal. So in the Azure portal, there are two ways in which I can create an Azure App Service. I can search for an Azure App Service by doing a search. So I can type App Service here. It's going to bring me App Services. Or I can go to the three horizontal lines and I click there. Okay, and I'm going to see App Services. So any method of your choice is still a good choice. So I am going to click on App Services. Now in App Services, we have no App Services as of now. Then we have a short explanation of what App Service is all about, which we have discussed. Then if you also want to learn more about App Services, the beautiful features when it comes to App Services, you go ahead and you click on Learn More about App Services. But I'm going to walk you through on how to create an Azure app. So I'm going to click on Create, and I'm going to click on the first one, which is the web app. Once I click on web app, then it is going to bring us to the first tab, which is the basic. Now, before you create any resource in Azure, you must have a subscription, right? A subscription is a container of a subscription is actually a container that brings your resources, or that gives an isolation of your environment when it comes to billing. So you need a subscription before you can create any resources in Azure. So I have my subscription. So in this case, I'm going to create a resource group. A resource group is a logical container of resources, which simply means you cannot create a resource without having a resource group. So I am going to create a resource group. So you click on create new. Then I am going to put it as web app dash resource group. Okay, then I am going to give the name of my web app. So I'm going to put it as Yandtech app 26. Then how do you want to publish your app? Do you want to use a code or a container? So I am going to leave it as code. Okay, in our upcoming video, you are going to see I'll be talking about containers. So right now we are going to leave it at the level of code. Then I'm going to select the language, which is basically the runtime stack. So I am going to use the .NET 10, the latest version of .NET. I'm going to click on .NET. So it can either be on a Linux or on a Windows, but for this lab, we are going to build our app using Windows. So I'm going to leave it at the level of Windows. Then for the region, I'm going to change it to Central US. So I'm going to select Central US. Then under the pricing plan, we said the pricing plan simply means the underlying compute, like renting a room in a building. So every web app you put on that plan shares its resources, which is the CPU, the memory, and the storage. Okay, so I am going to click on create new, and I'm going to put it as Yandtech plan. I'll click on OK. Then for the pricing plan, I am going to select the free plan. Okay, but there are different plans. We have, when it comes to the pricing plan for an app service, we have four of them. Okay, we have four pricing plan. We have four pricing plan. The first one is the free or the share plan, which is mostly used for learning and testing. The cost is $0 to start. Then the second one is the basic tier. The basic tier is for small project. You own your dedicated resources. It is good for small life applications. Then the third one, we have the standard, which there is a cost for it, and it is mostly used for production applications, right? And the last one is a premium for high traffic applications, more power, faster scaling, and advanced networking. So we are going to select the free, right? The free tier. So I'll click on free tier. I'll leave everything as default under the basic. Then I will click on next for the database. I will not change the database. When you're using the free tier, you cannot uncheck or check the box for the database. So we're going to leave it as it is. Then I will click on next, which is the deployment. Now, when it comes to the deployment, there are different ways in which your code can be deployed, right? Your code can be deployed through the Azure portal. We call that a zip deploy. Where you upload a zip project straight from your browser, which is the simplest way to start. The second way your code can be deployed is through the Visual Studio Code extension, where you actually right click, you deploy a web app right from your code editor. Then the third way to deploy your code is through the GitHub or the CI/CD, where you push your code to GitHub and Azure automatically build and deploy it for you. Then the last way is through a Docker container, where you package your application in a container and you deploy it as easy as it can be. All right. So under deployment, I'm going to leave it as disable, right? I'm going to leave it as disable. Then I'll go to next, which is the networking. Your app can either be private or it can be public. So in the course of this lab, we are going to leave our app as public access. Then the next, I'm going to click on next, which is the monitor. When you build an app, you always love to monitor it, know what is happening, the request that is coming in, the request that is going out, and all those things. But we are going to leave the monitor plus secure as it is, right? Most of the times to monitor, we make use of application inside. So I'm going to leave the application inside as no. Then I will click on next, then I will click on review plus create, right? We want to create a straightforward web app. So it's going to show us the review. We look and see if everything is fine. Then I'll go ahead, I'll click on create. So it's going to run through and start the deployment process. It's going to start the deployment process. Here it is. It might take few seconds or up to a minute for the deployment to be complete. Once the deployment is complete, then we are going to go into the resource. I'm going to explain some few things about the web app, and then we are going to move into the next step of building our application using a Visual Studio 2026. How to download the Visual Studio 2026? I'm going to put the download link on the description. Okay, so looking at my screen, the deployment is complete. So I am going to click on go to resource. Now in the go to resource, this is the overview page. I have my properties, I have the web app, I have my domain, which is actually the default domain. In upcoming videos, I'm going to be showing a video or doing a video on how to do a custom domain when it comes to a web app. Then we have the hosting, which is actually the service plan. Then we have the deployment center, where we are going to walk you through the deployment slot and the deployment center and the rest. Then we have the networking, right? We marked our application as public access. So we have the inbound IP address, which is public. No private endpoint yet. There's a video on private endpoint on my channel. So if you search, you're going to see a video on private endpoint. Then we have virtual network integration. There's also a video on how to connect your web app to a virtual network integration. So this is the overview page. You can stop your web app from running. You can swap. This swapping is swapping the deployment slot, which we are going to discuss. Then we have the restart. Then you can actually delete. So on the left, you are going to see different features, different things that you can actually do to make your application to be highly available, to be scalable, to be redundant, and disaster recovery, and all those things put together to scale in, to scale out. So we have them here. Okay, so having our web app, I am going to test it first so we can see the default web app page. So for us to see the default web app page, I'm going to click. There are two ways for us to do it. It's either you click on the browse, or you copy the default domain and paste it on the browser, and we are going to see the default web app. So I am going to copy this. I'll go into a new tab, my browser, and I'm going to paste it, and I will do enter. Once I do enter, it's going to load, and yay, here we come. So this is the default web page of the web app running in Azure. So that is the first way. Then the second way, if I click on the browser, it's going to show me the same thing. Okay. So what we want to do next, we are going to use Visual Studio 2026, which is the latest version. This is my Visual Studio 2026. We are going to build an app, and we are going to publish that app to our Azure web app. Okay, so I am going to attach the link of the app that we are actually going to be using the solution to build the application. So this app is actually, let me bring it up. It's actually a Bible app. Okay, it's actually a Bible app. This is it, right? It is in the zip file. It's actually a Bible study app which we are going to use. So I am going to send it in the description. You're going to see the link on how to download, so you can use it as well. So this is it. This is everything, the files, the JSON file and everything. So this is a solution, the Visual Studio solution. This is the one that we are going to open up. Okay. Now, once you have downloaded the file, it's going to be a zip file. It's going to be a zip file. So this is what you are going to do after you download. So once you have downloaded, it is going to be like this in your download folder. Go ahead and you right click. Once you right click, you extract all. So I'm going to click on extract all, and they're going to ask me this question, and I'm going to click on extract. So once I click on extract, it's going to be extracted, and here we come. This is a folder, and we have the files inside the folder. All right. Now I will go to my Visual Studio. I'll go to my Visual Studio 2026. When you open your Visual Studio 2026, this is how it's going to look like. These are different projects I have worked on. But on the right, you are going to see four options. You're going to see create a new project. If you want to build a new project either by scratch or using a template, you can click there. You have open a project or a solution. If you have a project you have already built, you can actually open it up. Then you will see open a folder. This is the one we are going to use. So I'm going to click on open a folder because I have a folder that is having the solution of my application. So I am going to click on open a folder, and I'm going to click on the download, and this is the folder. I am going to open up the folder. I'm going to open up the folder, and I'm going to click on the solution. Okay, this is the folder. It has been highlighted, so I'm going to click on select folder. Once I click on select folder, it's going to load, and here we are. This is the solution explorer. Okay, this is the solution explorer. So it's still loading. Let's give it a couple of minutes or seconds for it to load. As you can see here, this is my solution. This is my solution. All right, this is my solution. Then I have the www root. I have the different folders and the solutions that are being used to build the code. So this is the solution. I have my solution. Okay, so we are going to quickly build it, and then we are going to quickly test it. Okay. So it's loading, so let it load, and then we are going to proceed. All right, so it's done loading. So I'm going to build it, and then we are going to test it. So if you look here on the upper left or right, the middle, you are going to see HTTP, right, where we can actually build. We can actually start without debugging, or we can start with debugging. So if I click here, you are going to see HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol, right? We want to run it through the web. We have different options. So I'm going to leave it as HTTP. Then I'm going to click on the start icon to build it. So I'm going to click on it. You are going to see the bottom side. There we go. So it has successfully built, and now we have our app, right? This is our app. As I said, it is a Bible study app. This is how it looks like, right? We have the Bible. We have all the different books in the Bible, be it the Old Testament, New Testament. We have them. If you go to Genesis, you are going to see the different 50 chapters in the book of Genesis. So this is the app. Okay, you can actually sign up, you can log in, you can actually sign up. It's going to ask for your email, your password, confirm your password. And once you sign up, it's going to ask you some questions. Do you want to join a Bible study group and all those things? So this is how it looks like. Okay, so if I go back to the Tech Up Youth, you see Tech Up Youth Bible study, get started, log in, read and bookmark, study group, discuss and pray, reading plan. So that's how the app look like. So now we have this app in Visual Studio. Let me close this up. Okay. We have the app in Visual Studio. Let me open up my Visual Studio. All right. We have this app in Visual Studio, right? Now, I want to publish it to my Azure web app. Just so you know, in the Azure web app, this is what we have. This is what we are seeing. Your web app is running and waiting for your content. But we want to publish our Bible app to the Azure web app, right? So I am going to, this is what we are going to do. I will go to my Visual Studio 2026. On the right side where we have the Solution Explorer, I will go to the project itself, Take Up Youth Bible Study. I am going to right click and I will click on Publish. When you click on Publish, it's going to load and it's going to start the process. The first one is the target. They are going to ask you, is a target Azure? Is it Docker? Is it folder? Right? Definitely. We want to publish it to the web app in Azure. So the target is Azure. I will select next. Now the specific target, remember the web app, it's running on a Windows machine. So you see Azure Container, it's not Azure Container. We have Azure App Service Windows, which is actually where our web app was being created. So I'm going to select the second option, then I'm going to click on next. When you click on next, it is going to load. The first things first, which you are supposed to do, you have to sign in your Azure account to Visual Studio 2026. Or if you're making use of Visual Studio Code, you have to sign in your Azure account. So this is my Azure account, right? It's already signed into my Visual Studio Code. That is why under the app service, you are seeing my app service. If you are not signed in, go ahead and sign in using your work or student account or your Microsoft account, but let it be connected to the Azure account. Let it be an Azure account. So when you are successfully connected, now you are going to see your web app. You're going to see your resource group where your web app is running inside. We said a resource group is a container of resources. So my web app is actually running inside this resource group. And this is my web app, right? This is my web app. And in this my web app, we have a deployment slot, right? A deployment slot is just like the environment. Okay. So I am going to click on my web app and I'm going to click on next. When I click on next, that is the publish. It has been highlighted already. I'm going to click on finish. When I click on finish, it's going to run. I'll check the box. When it's done running, it should automatically close. So there we go. So it's going to run. It's going to check everything. Make sure everything is ready for the app to be deployed. Okay, this is it. So once everything is fine, we see ready to publish. I will go ahead and I will click on publish. When I click on publish, I'm going to cross my fingers and I'm going to pray to God Almighty for the application to be successfully published, for it not to have any error. Okay, so we have prayed. Now it's running. Let's see how it goes. So after a successful run, it's going to automatically bring up a browser giving us our app. All right, as you can see, we have publish succeeded. So it has successfully published our app from Visual Studio 2026 to our web app in Azure. So let's go to the web app in Azure and verify if it has been successfully published. Okay, so let me close this one. This was the previous, and now this is our web app. So I am going to refresh my web app. Right, I'm going to refresh my web app just to be sure that everything has been seen in. Okay, so once we have that, I am going to click on the browse of the web app. I'm going to click on the browse, and guess what we are going to see? When I click on the browse, what do we have? We have our Bible study app. There we go. So that's a success. So I am going to close it again. I'm going to copy the default domain. Okay, I'll copy the default domain. I'll open a new tab and I will paste it, and I'll run it as well. What do we have? We have Tech Up Youth Bible Study. You can as well build this and use it to build your spiritual life. So this video has walked us through, just to recap, we know what an Azure App Service is all about. We know what a web app is all about, why we are using it, and the different benefits on how to use it. Then we have successfully deployed a live application, right? This is going to help you to gain the knowledge on how to build an application using Azure Web App. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Do not forget to comment whatever lab you want us to do a video for you. Comment on the chat. We